All right, guys, gather up. It's story time. So Anuj and I, we get together here, and I'm like, "How you doing today?" He's like, "Dude, I'm doing good. I'm doing great." He goes, "I might need to shave though, because he's starting to get a little scraggly." And I was like, "No, man, it's winter. It's winter out here, so you got to keep the warmth, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I feel like I have this snowboarder vibe." And I just casually mentioned, in a past life, I was a snowboarder. And then he started talking about this other stuff. And it got me, like, for whatever reason, my mind stayed back when I was young, when I was a snowboarder. And I want to share a story that I think is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't find success in life. And it's something I got really lucky with in that particular experience. Because Anush said, if I could go back in time and like dedicate myself to a thing, I think I could become like a really good snowboarder, right? Well, I lived that life for a period of time. Coming out of high school, I was a pretty good snowboarder. This would have been like in the year 2000, 2001. So you got to understand, this is very early days of the whole snowboarding thing. We didn't even make it into the Olympics until like 2002. So like it was very, very early days. It didn't take a lot to be like upper echelon at that point. But I was like what I would consider a semi-professional snowboarder at that point, which just meant I was traveling, I was competing, and like occasionally making some money from some sponsors, whatever. And I stopped because I had this accident where within like the span of like 2 weeks, I suffered 3 concussions. And this was before helmets were cool or anything like that. So the first one, well, actually, I don't even remember the first one. The third one, well, that's the one where everything changed. The third one, I cracked my skull something good, doing a backflip off the edge of this icy lip, and my skull just bashed it. And next thing I know, it is 3 hours later. Last thing I remember is bashing my head, and then it's 3 hours later, and I'm on the other side of the mountain. And I'm just sitting there, my buddy's sitting next to me, and it's just like, all of a sudden my memory kicks back in. And I'm like, where am I? How did I get here? I'm like freaking out. I'm actually like quite disturbed. Cause like, it's like an out of body experience where you black out, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, how did I get here? And my buddy's like, you rode here. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? How did we get here? And I was like, dude, I don't remember anything since hitting my head. And he's like, oh yeah, you've seemed pretty out of it for like, you've been quiet. Like you seemed a little out of it for the like last little bit. And I was like, dude, I think I need to go to the hospital. I don't remember anything. Like I started like having a little mini freak out because it was very, very strange. And so we go to the doctor, do all that stuff. And I have a concussion. Long story short. But the thing about this was it really shook me because I started to realize that for me to become great at this activity, to become a great snowboarder, was going to require me to pay a particular price. And at that moment, I decided that price wasn't worth it to me. And I stopped snowboarding like almost overnight. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just the price of being the best, of being the greatest, of going pro, of going to the Olympics, all that stuff. The price of it, I wasn't willing to pay it. Now, whatever you want to do in your life and business and life and athletics, whatever, there is a price to be paid for that thing. And a lot of times we don't stop and actually ask ourselves, what is the price of my greatness in that domain? And more importantly, am I really willing to pay it? What a lot of us will do, and I had this very stark moment of clarity where I was like, holy crap, I'm not willing to do what it takes to be the best at this thing. I'm done here. But most of us, we don't have that aha eureka moment where we realize the price is too much and I'm not willing to pay it. What most of us do is we go through the motions for years thinking we're willing to pay the price, thinking in fact that we are paying the price, when in reality what you're doing is you're just paying down the interest, not the principal. Here's what I mean by that. When you put money on your credit card, you can wait 30 days and then you have to make your first payment. And they give you an option. Do you want to pay the full statement, which is the principal that you had, or would you just like to pay the interest on this and carry the principal forward? What a lot of people will do is they'll put money on they'll charge things to their credit card, and then every month they'll just make the minimum payment to the interest. So they're never paying down the principal. And this is what a lot of us do when it comes to our dreams, our goals, is we've charged it to the credit card of life, but we're only putting in the minimal effort to pay down the interest. never paying down the principal. And I think it's really important that you get crystal clear about what is the thing that you're trying to accomplish this year, this decade, with your life, whatever. What are the big goals that you have, and what is it going to cost you to get there? Get very clear about that price, because a lot of times, let's say you go and buy a car. You go buy a car off the used car lot and they offer you financing. They're like, it's $10,000 for this car and we will give you, 10% financing for the next 5 years. Cool. You think you're paying $10,000 for this car, or rather what you're probably thinking is I'm paying $200 a month for this car, or $150. That's what you think the price of the vehicle is. But if you were to do the whole calculation at the end of that 5-year period, you're actually like, oh, you know what? I'm actually not paying $10,000. I'm paying $11,000. So the true price of this thing wasn't this number. It was this number plus all the other intangibles that I didn't calculate into it. You have to get clear about what is going to be the true full cost of your dreams, of your goals. You need to be able to see them clearly. You have to understand what is it going to require of you to give up in order to achieve that thing. And then you need to make the decision. Are you willing to pay that price, or are you not? Is it actually costing you too much? Because on paper, it sounds great to be a billionaire. Sounds great to build a $1 billion company. What is it going to cost you to be there, to achieve that? It's probably going to cost you your relationships. It's probably going to cost you some of your health. It's probably going to cost you all these other domains of your life that you might not be willing to sacrifice. That in the true cost calculation, you would look at and say, you know what? I don't care that much about being a billionaire if it's going to cost me all these other things. I'm not willing to pay that price. So my challenge to you today is to stop and ask yourself, get very clear, what is it that you're trying to achieve? What are the associated costs that you are going to have to pay both now and into the future? And then answer the question, are you willing to pay it? And if you are, go pay it with interest and with principal and everything that you have. And if you're not, stop now. Go find something else. Go put your efforts towards something that is worth your time and energy, that you are willing to put the full price into. It's the only way to achieve anything of greatness and of value in life. So hope this brings you guys some value. If it did, let me know. Take a screenshot, put it on Instagram, tag me, @Vicino, so I can give you some love. I can share it with my beautiful audience, and they can come over and see what kind of cool things you're up to. And that's going to do it for me, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.